The second, this second phase of my discourse will be centered on the structure of the Mbum clans as well as leadership. Of course, when we're talking, like we earlier said, of clans, we're talking of children of the same ancestor or the same family. So we should not make a mistake to think that these discussions are like separating us. We should be intentional in realizing that our main purpose is to unveil that which unites us. So fundamentally, we are more united than we ever could have thought of. Structurally, therefore, we are divided into the Tang clan, War clan, and the Wear clan. And the Tang clan's head is Tala, like we already saw or heard, and we already know. The War clan, the head is Mbot, and the Wear clan, the head is Ndu. Of course, in each of these clans, we do have villages. The Tang clan, for instance, has Sina Mbibgo, Wotaku, Ngarum, Kup, Binkabi, Bongom, Tabiken, Tundip, as some of the family members. Take note, I say family members, because the concept of chiefs or villages was very foreign to Mbum until the advent of colonialism. We were just family, we were just Mbums. And that's the reason why you see recently we've been losing a lot of chiefs, and many of them have only been of the second dynasty, to let you know that most only came to power either being recognized, not some, like they rightfully put it, by the colonial administration, which actually evolved from the concept of empowering the main so that they can be able to rule, believing that they knew better their customs and traditional practices, and as such could be better custodians of those cultures and those traditions, so that they can be used in the adaptive British colonial rule, which was very similar to the British customary system of governance to manage the Mbum people, through whom they would collect taxes. And that's the reason why even as early as 1916, before the British came in, they already started collecting taxes. So they had their interest in empowering those men to be able to challenge our original institutions, which were under funds. And these funds would normally ought to have been. When I say fund, you see, we evolved from as early as 12th century from Belaka. So in Ghana, they still had Belaka. The original ones were Belaku. Belaku were the women, and Belaka the men. And Wu-Teng was the one who gave rise to the funds. So the children who were offsprings of Wu-Teng from Kimi, you find them having this concept of funds, not chiefs. So chiefs, therefore, became a foreign concept which was imported as conceived and used by the French, firstly in Canada, and secondly borrowed all over and applied in colonial and even neo-colonial systems as we do find them today. We realize also that some Tikari villages that resisted, that had earlier got some men at the head and resisted the concept of divide and rule, today are still having just one lead. Like we have Uku with 34 villages, but just one fund, and some Kumbu with so many villages, just one fund. You have Bafut, you have Bali, you have so many others. But when it comes to the Mbum, you realize that almost each and every family is now an entity of itself, threatening to almost be independent, except that they are held together by the original concept of the three princes that make up the three clans. So we do not have anything against this, but it helps us to rediscover to redefine us, to help us, even when people, some of those villages, they will just be alive with a lie, saying that they came directly either from Kimi or even from Nganga or from Tikari. sometimes can be genuine ignorance, because the British colonial systems, the British colonial systems and even colonial system has been very intentional in cutting off our educational transition and somehow imposing on us their kind of history. But anthropology helps us to cut across and go deeper, so that we'll be able to come up with the historiology of our people. That when we're doing this historical profile, it helps us not to be dogmatic, not just to take what is true and swallow, to say if you don't write what is in the curriculum, you fail the GCE, but to come up with what really truly makes us. So let me continue with Mbot in order to name those villages that are under Mbot, or families that are under Mbot. I'll keep saying you have the Sa family, Sopitumbo, Wangri, Wacho, Binchwa, Kambe, Kungi, Mankamba, B, and Jirong. Then you have Ndu, you have Shimakop, you have Sen, you have Ngulu, you have Njila, you have Jimkang, you have Lu, you have Kunchep, you have Jit, and maybe Mba. Well, if I forget some, please don't mind adding. You just have to add, please. So these are the structures that make the Mbum clans, and the leaders, like I said, humbly are the clan heads. If we can understand this, I think it will work to our advantage, because we cannot allow ourselves to be fighting our cultural hierarchy and expect someone from outside to do better to help organize us. And we who were the elders, we do have sometimes, when I say elders, like I said, it's because the Mbum were the first daughters of Wuteng Mbum, and the second was Tinki. So it's Tinki, that's the follower of Mbum, that actually delivered Fumban. That's in Charian, that actually delivered Ngunso, that's the woman who led the Banso people. And then that actually delivered Mbafia, those three children. But today, it appears as if they are not only more united, but because of their collaboration, they are doing better in so many other aspects of social and economic life than us, because we take our structural organization for granted, and we waste a lot of time fighting one another and leaving room for people from outside to propagate chaos amongst us, so as to benefit from the crumbs. So we can be very intentional in respecting our culture, looking back to see how united our forefathers, our ancestors were. Above all, looking at some of the shrines that unite us. The shrine of Bongabi, everyone says Abi Yungit, but you realize that when you have the opportunity, the best thing you do is either be alive with the lie and dead with the truth, or you stab your brother, your sister on the back. When you have an opportunity, you start telling the world how competent you are, how direct, how honest you are, and then you don't want to give your brother, you know the talent, you know the quality, you have the competence he has, but you choose some other person instead of your brother. So if we look at our structures and remember that we draw inspirations from the concept of clan, which reflects to our common ancestor, we'll be very intentional in supporting one another and in ensuring that we grow in the house and make Mbum great and great again. Remember, we are the only people who resisted. If Nso and Fumban seems to be ahead of us, it's only because they associated more with Islam, and Islam, which was a little bit more advanced in education and science and also other aspects, they helped them to develop either their language, to develop their economic systems, and to be more, and to give them the means to consolidate power. It's similar also in Ndu, our brethren who had an early exposure to Islamic influence at Ntem. See how the Muslims helped to even establish the tea factory in Ndu as early as possible, made the condom of Ndu to be strong enough, not just to have the fish pond and to do a lot of things, but to consolidate, to come back and consolidate those family members who were almost going elsewhere under him. So sometimes we might need some reasonable degree of power in order to do this, because if we continue to say it's about democracy, it can soon become demons crazy to allow anyone rise tomorrow and then to say he has now become a village and now a chief, it will continue to threaten our big clans and our common Mbum clan. And tomorrow, you keep realizing that most of us will prefer to deal with strangers and at the expense of who we are as Mbum. There is nobody in this country who will prefer to work with a stranger except Mbum. To a very large extent, you see a lot of Mbum people preferring foreigners to Mbum. It's such a disgrace. And we are supposed to have been more enlightened and more civilized than that. So I think I don't have much to say. I want to thank especially Ta Manchong. I've learned a lot, especially on the political evolution and the political configuration of parliamentary representation in Bumland. I want to let all of us know that in new colonial systems, we have never had a minister. Sometimes when people here talk about Ngalajera, talk about Sakwa, people begin to think that they're even ministers. We've never had, but because those other people are even less than us, they are very united. They have Bansor, have prime ministers, have ministers, and all of that. You see, but we keep dragging our feet because to a very large extent, we are not we are not very united. Dissolving clans cannot be possible because it is very congenital. It is who we are. It's about our culture. Clan simply means family. There is nothing in clan. It's just a nomenclature of clan simply means children of the same family. So if you are dissolving clan, it means that you just simply want each and every Mbum person to finally stand on his own. It's just be like a kind of configuration of, how can I put it? I mean, there will be absolutely no unity. You cannot pretend to have any unity when land simply helps to define us and to help our history to be clearer, to help our culture, our lineages to be clearer, and so that we can trace them. We should not look at plan from a divisive or from an ignorant point of view. Thank you so much. I'll be waiting for your questions. I think the work is so much, and I've been working on these topics for more than 20 years. And I think more than 20. And I think that there's sometimes I begin to wonder from where we could even begin right up to where should we end. Thank you again.
Thank you so very much. A hand of applause for Tam Fomingenge, who is actually done a great job. And of course, the questions are coming very soon. And with the permission of Yaje, I will just want to bring in once again Tam Fomindi Manjong, who will be speaking about organizing and to overcome the conflicts in the unity of the clans. So he'll be talking about overcoming these conflicts in the unity of the clans. So once more, over to you, Tam, for me, Ndimanjo.
Thank you very much for this other opportunity to be back. And thank everybody who made the effort to be here to listen and take home something which they can share and let everybody have it and see how it helps us as a people to forge forward, understanding who we are, what the unity there is, as is ours, and what the moving forward can be for us in terms of a brighter tomorrow. So I'm running down this in terms of what it is that can help us to be able to overcome the potential of developing conflicts out of our clan or out of our clan realities. Yeah, as Tamfomingenge earlier indicated, we are more or less subs of one, but that seems to have been ingrained in us already, that we are clans. Well, like he said, we don't want to go on doing the fact that we are 3 clans. But like the Honorable Audu at one time came out with some phrasing of it. He said, maybe let us look at it as if we are 3 in 1. Yeah, so if we look at it as 3 in 1, maybe it helps us. I'm here to indicate that I want us to look at it from different dimensions, different things that make it necessary or contribute to our working together for our own betterment. Let us look at our development and our self-preservation as a goal. If we present ourselves with our development, or we put at the forefront our development and our self-preservation as a goal, that could serve as a catalyst to smoothen out the possible rough edges that could be pushing us towards conflict, and thereby leave us with a better understanding of preserving our unity and moving forward as a united people. This is not far-fetched. We have a lot of things that speak to that. For example, the positives of the history of conflict in unity, as I already went through. If you listen carefully to that, you would have heard about the amicability demonstrated in the dispersal of the Fundums. So if we look at the fact that whatever happened in Tala, that part of the family moved to, for example, Kup, to settle there, there must be something that allowed for Kup to amicably settle behind what line, far away from father or mother Tala. Same for Sina, behind Sop, Ndu, far away from mother Tala. Same for Lu, behind tongue lines of Tundip, Takungarum, far away from Ndu. Concept, behind Kambe, Wiwar, far away from Ndu. Tumbo, Sop, Jirong, removed from Mbot, Modambot, Fadambot, whatever we want that to be, separated by the clan of Wuya and the clan of Witang, Du, Tala. They have to pass through to get to Mbot. The fact that they have been known to do this without obstruction, without being waylaid by the people in Du, without being waylaid by the people in Tala, is for us to learn from that, to be able to understand ourselves from our history, to be welcoming to each other as the brothers and sisters we should be in doing our things together and moving forward as a people. If we look at the amicability demonstrated in our geographical proximity, or in the geographical proximity of the lead clan Fundum, Ndu, Tala, Mbot, they're kind of next to each other. So if you look at that, there is nothing to say that there was all such serious conflict in the past to allow for their existence. So if it was all in Tala and then a lot of conflict kind of like threw Ndu out of Tala seriously, then they couldn't have just moved to Ndu. And then if Mbot was thrown out of Tala, oh, they couldn't have just moved to Mbot. They needed to have gone much further than that. But these are the lead fondoms of the three clans, and they just live next to each other. So we are saying that history shows that we have always looked at each other as brother and sister. And if we continue to propagate that, then it will help us moving forward. And then again, I'm so fascinated by this Mbare reality. And maybe I want somebody to be very, very interested in this, to go down there to this Mbare plain and then figure out 3 farms, one on the Mbot side, the other on the Wia side, the other on the Tala side, and see how they are located on this Mbare's plain, and see how we can delineate them and make them places or attractive to maybe our pilgrimage. I don't know if that's the right word, or our tourism or whatever. If you want to go and see how the Mbot, the Tala, and the Ndu as leaders of our clans have a little space where they can all meet and talk to each other to show that we are not really in conflict, or we had historically not been in conflict with each other that much. Then that may be a worthwhile endeavor. But for those who don't know about this Mbare plain, please ask to know about it. It's not too distant to get there. Get there and find out for yourself what the truth is about what I am saying. Then let's look at, again, what do we get from what looks like the confederation or the federation of the Wia clan, which has been through history. As I earlier said, the Wia clan is one of the most diverse of the 3 clans, because it is made up of Tang people who are Winyar, Mbibgo, Wowo, I think Simakop, because if the people of the Lajansi, which is on the south side, are Witang, then therefore Simakop and an offshoot of that should be Witang too. That's my estimation. That's my assumption, I would think. So, but they are part of the Wia Confederation or the Wia Federation as a clan. And then the Wingu, who are Jimkang and Sen. And then, no, the Wingang, who are Jimkang and Sen. And then the Wingu, who are the people of Mangu, Jila, Angulu. They are all in the Weah clan. And they have been there for many years, not as a result of conquest. The colonialists came and met them. Maybe they helped to have this written down, which today looks like a record from which they cannot extricate themselves. But that is not what makes them makes them live amicably with each other, because at any time the other could say, I don't belong here or whatever. But that's not a thing that anybody is clamoring to do or has been clamoring to do in all of this time. So looking at that, we can learn from it and see how we can work together to move forward together. Then the other thing I just thought I should throw in for us to take a look at, without looking from some books of history or some literature or some whatever. Just make a casual look at our marriages. Just look at the people that you know, and then try to see who they are married to. You will discover that hardly do we find, of the people that we know, of the people that we think matter as Mbum people in the modern sense of it, maybe because of their education, the job they hold, the positions they hold in society, and things like that. Just look at them. You are going to discover that the majority of them are not married from their own village. You will equally discover that it's not just that they are not married from their own village. A good number of them are not married from their own clan. You'll find that. So if we have been able to live that life with each other by marriage, we can borrow from that and learn to live amicably with each other as clans or sub-clans of a clan, which we may call tribe, and then that will help us to move forward. And maybe the other thing that we could drop into this will be the Wimbumness of our own existence, especially by these marriage arrangements that we have. Our Mbumness allows for us not to talk ill of our mother's people. So borrowing from that, you may want not to talk ill about your children's mother's people, probably. If you're not related to your wife by blood, at least your children are related to her people by blood. So since it's not ethically Mbum to speak ill of your mother's people, maybe don't speak ill of your children's mother's people. Yeah, because the Mbum people say mother is supreme in their own way. Because when the going goes tough with you, your last resort is your mother's people. If your father's people exile you, you seek refuge with your mother's people. If for whatever reason you don't like the way your father's people treat you, they don't necessarily have to exile you. You may want to take refuge with your mother's people. That's our Mbumness. So the way we manage our marriages, which in the main are across villages and are across clans should give us the fortitude to be able to manage our unity as a people, to be able to move forward with our development and with our self-preservation. Then our proximal development and aspiration. By proximal, I mean like for those people who are removed from the mainstay of their sub-clan or their clans, whatever we call them now. In a sense, the greater development aspiration of the low people, for example, may be more hinged to the Tundi and the Taku who are Witang than with the Nu who are distant geographically from them, who are Wia. Sina may want to hinge its developmental aspiration, broader or larger developmental aspiration, with say SOP or proximity, that try to hinge that to Tala, which is geographically distant from Sina. Same for Cook. They should be, and I think they are, part of Mbuwar, which in the main are villages, pulling themselves together. Yakub should join them in whatever they are doing there locally for their collective development, than think of undertaking development with Tala distant away. Concept would do it better with Kambe than with Ndu, for example. So I am saying that, yeah, by our dispersal as fondoms of clans or chiefdoms of clans, we learn that we can live together, develop together with our neighbors, that insist on development that is far-fetched on clan basis and with our distant orders, which may not be development wise. Yeah, the people from Tala can decide to have a highway running from Tala to Tuntip. Okay, linking Garum. Beyond that, then what? Would be the question. And then how do they get Cook to be part of that? How do they get Sina to be part of that? You know, and then the way people can have a highway running from G4 to, yeah, great, wonderful. But how do they get Concept to be part of that? So the people in Concept, far removed, are better off working with the people in Kambe for their proximal development aspiration than insisting on developing alongside their clan. Some of the basic moves we are beginning to make, like with the creation of Wikuda. And so we are saying that now that we have thought of creating structures like this that pull us together as Mbum people, we need to be functioning within those structures created by us for us in ways that has as a focus not our competition and conflict theory, but in the fostering of the unity therein that allows for our collective development, and self-preservation. No one says, or is advocating that we should go now abolishing or degrading or renouncing all the effort we have put into our clan organizations. But we can have an orientation for that. And if that orientation is for augmenting the development aspiration of Wikuda, to which we are all subscribed in terms of our collective development and our collective self-preservation, then fine. But if we are orientating it towards interclan conflict, interclan rivalry, and resulting conflict, then it cheats us of the opportunity to work together to advance our collective development and to foster our collective self-preservation. I, time for me, Manjong, if the fun of Tala comes to America, and for whatever reason, I think that he was not nicely treated as was, say, the fun of Bod or the fun of Ndu or something, who are also clan heads like him. I guess what we are saying here is that my response to that should not be to say, okay, because this is happening, I need to go and maybe reorientate the Witang organization by alarming at what happened to the Fund of Tala in America or something, and then try to win sympathy within the Tang organization or the Witang organization that could become acrimonious towards our desire to work, say, in Wikuda collectively and harmoniously for our collective development and our collective self-preservation. Yeah, because some of the times it's like we have a lot of energy and we want to seek recognition, and then we are sometimes inclined, or we find it's sometimes too simple to want to look for the negative things to do to be able to. And then some of those in themselves are conflict ridden. And when they are conflict ridden, then they tend to mar the unity and the unity with which we can be working, or we should be working collectively as a people in advancing our collective development and our collective self-preservation. If we look at it, Ndu or the Wia clan, when you stretch it from Njifo to Mbafa, as Mbum people working together, it is large enough by the dictates of what it takes to have a first-class fund. We didn't make the rules are there, we're just following them. Follow those rules, collective make our argument, then we can have the fund of Ndu as first class. from Tala to Tundip, contiguous. That's enough in terms of whatever first class we already have out there to be able to make our argument following the law in place, not creating anything, not making up anything, but working together. The fund of Tala should be first class. From lower Mbot through upper Mbot to Mbuwar, put together is enough for the fund of Mbot to be first class. So if that is the thing that we desire for ourselves, to say that we are great people with 3 first class funds, the rules allow for us, the law allows for us to collectively work and make that happen. And we can do it. We don't have to do it by getting one or pitching one against the other to be able to achieve that. Why do we have to do that? And increase the acrimony in between us instead of dumping the acrimony between us because of the greater things that have to do with our development and our self-preservation, instead of doing it for the cheap. To say, by the law, as is there, do because of this, A, B, C, whatever. In the law, qualifies first class. Tala, because of this in the law, qualifies first class. But because of this in the law, qualifies to be first class. Yeah, those are arguments we could be making. Working together, collectively, as a people. Yeah, but when we leave it to kind of like clan, then sometimes people want to do it in a way, let's beat this down and beat ours up in order to achieve that. Then when that is done, then we are left with the bitter experience that masks our effort to work together to advance ourselves development-wise and self-preservation-wise. So I yield the balance of my time, and I look forward to using that balance for questions people may have. Thank you very much.